Portion control. What does it mean? How do we do it, etc. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an update first of all about myself and what I do. So I'm a nutrition coach, and I qualified with a company called Precision Nutrition, which is one of the companies that I picked out of quite a few. And the reason why I picked Precision Nutrition because it was really science based. It's very up to date. They're really on top of all the latest nutrition ideas and guides, and they're also diet agnostic, which basically means they understand that there's a lot of different diets out there, a lot of different ways of losing weight, building muscle, just sort of controlling your nutrition. Hi, Randy. Um, and I really like that idea because I have tried an awful lot of different diets, different regimes, different ways of losing weight, gaining muscle, keeping control of my nutrition, all sorts of different things. So it was really nice to find a company that didn't diss one or the other diets. They were open and honest about what were the pros and the cons about particular diets. And that's what really sold it for me. So I qualified with Precision Nutrition, and quite some time ago, back in I think it was 2005, no 2007, I actually qualified as a life coach as well with the Coaching Academy, which is based here in London. And the two together, the nutrition coaching and the life coaching, seem to have a really amazing symbiotic relationship because, as I say to all my clients, food isn't just food. It's incredibly emotive. It's you get quite emotional when you think about going without food or your favorite meal or having food with friends and family. There's something very powerful about food. And if you have sort of a form of an addiction to food, you can't stop eating a certain type or a certain quantity, then it's probably one of the most difficult addictions to deal with because unlike say alcohol or drugs, the main way to get over that kind of addiction is you stop taking alcohol and you stop taking drugs. Whereas with food, you can't stop taking food. You have to have it. So having to deal with that as an addiction is incredibly difficult. So using the nutrition coaching and the life coaching has empowered me to work with people's emotional issues that they have with food and their relationship with food, which has seen some brilliant results. Hi Edward, hi Stephen, thanks for joining. And basically, I help people regain control of their health by just eating better food, better nutrition, and through that, they've seen some amazing results. So I wanted to start off first of all with the survey that I sent out to on my Facebook groups and Instagram feeds and on my personal page and everything, because I just wanted to get an idea of what people really thought about when it came to portion control. So the first question I asked people was, when you've tried portion control in the past, how did you do it? And the top answer was just putting less food on my plate. It's a pretty simple answer, really, isn't it? Portion control, don't put as much stuff on your plate. Um, Other people tried using a smaller plate, putting food away. There was excess food as quickly as they could, just leaving something on the plate. Or most of us are brought up to clear our plate and finish everything on there. So leaving a bit of food on the plate is actually quite a difficult thing for people to do. Measuring portions, measuring what you cook in the first place, or using pre-packed meals that are already portion controlled for you. So those are some of the top answers I got for that. The next is, what do you fear about portion control? And not surprisingly, the biggest response was definitely a fear of being hungry, actually, not feeling satisfied and getting those hunger pangs, and then ending up having to eat more because you're just not satisfied. The next biggest one was feeling like I'm wasting food. So going back again to clearing your plate, putting everything in your mouth, because otherwise, what about those starving children in some other part of the world? That's the phrase that was always used when I was a kid. Um, so yeah, wasting food was the next one, and feeling less satisfied, eating becoming a miserable event were further down on the list of what people feared. So definitely being hungry and feeling like you're wasting food were the top two answers there. Now, the next question was specifically very interesting to me. So I asked, when you get hungry, do you suffer from any of the following symptoms? And I put quite a long list of symptoms of, let's just go through them. So anxiety, insomnia, headache, nausea, irritability, fatigue, trouble concentrating or clearly thinking, muscle aches, loss of appetite, dizziness, shakiness, mood swings, nightmares, elevated heart rate, tremors, sweating, loss of colour in the face, dehydration, shallow breathing, depression. So those were all the symptoms that I listed and asked people to let me know, do you get any of these symptoms when you feel hungry? Now, I have to admit something here. That's not a list of symptoms for being hungry. That's actually a list of symptoms for somebody that is going through withdrawal. Specifically, those symptoms are related to alcohol withdrawal, but they are pretty much symptoms of withdrawal from something that you have been or are addicted to. Hi, Ella. Hi, Ebony. Thanks for joining. So that question had a little bit of a kick to it because if you answered yes to one or two of those items, usually it was fatigue and irritability. Those were the top two. Mood swings, kind of the same sort of thing, that came up as well. So irritability and fatigue, those are the two main ones that came up. Those probably are related to feeling hungry. But the rest of them, and if you had more than, say, five of those, I'd like you to really think about this. Because if you had more than five of those symptoms, chances are that wasn't hunger that you were suffering from. That was actually a withdrawal from something that you eat on a really regular basis. It could be sugar, it could be fat, it could be some type of carbohydrate, it could be something, some added chemical in your regular meals that you have on a daily basis that actually your body has become so accustomed to, it's actually started to develop some kind of a need, an addiction towards that particular thing. And so when you go without it for an extended period of time and you think that maybe you're trying to be healthy by fasting or having smaller portions, if you're starting to get these symptoms, and I would say probably four or five or more of these symptoms, you're probably finding out that actually there's something deeper going on here. There is some kind of an addiction and a withdrawal that you're going through. If you are getting more than, say, five of these, I would seriously like you to drop me a private message afterwards so that we can talk about it, because I think that there's a bigger issue there that we need to go through in a one-to-one session. Okay. If you'd like to see the full list, you can look it up on americanaddictioncenters.org, and they have a subpage called /withdrawal timelines treatments, and that's got the full list of withdrawal symptoms there. Have a look at it, and you will probably find that if you are getting multiple ones of those, then you're going to have to look into it a little bit further. Good question, Ala. So he wants to know, how would I know what my body is addicted to? It's going to be a little bit of trial and error. If you have a review of what you've been eating over the last week, which I do with my clients when they join my program, I get them to do a food diary, and they send me a picture of every single thing that they eat. Reviewing that after a week is usually quite easy to see. There's a specific thing that's included in your meals that you might be addicted to. So it could be anything. It could be sugar. It could be a certain type of fat or carbohydrate or something. It could be anything. Trial and error is usually the best way to find out if you're just doing this on your own. So have a think about it. If you are getting multiple symptoms, then do think about what it could be that your body is actually becoming addicted to or has become addicted to. So let's get on to what exactly is hunger, and what does it feel like? When I work with my clients who want to improve their portion control, the first step is actually to identify what hunger is. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it do to your body? And get people to understand what it feels like to be full, to be absolutely stuffed to the point where you just physically cannot eat another thing. So right at the top level, absolutely stuffed, definitely no hunger whatsoever. Not at that time anyway. Full is you've eaten enough, you can sort of feel your stomach start to swell and a little bit of discomfort. You might need to just pop the top of your button on your trousers or your pants to just give you a little bit of light relief because you're a little bit bloated, but you could probably eat a little bit more, but you have managed to stop, so that's a good thing. So feeling full. The next level down is going to be satisfied. So feeling satisfied is you don't have hunger anymore. The hunger's gone. You could eat more if you wanted to, but you are satisfied. You've had enough. Next down below that is you've eaten or you haven't eaten for a while and you're just getting a little bit peckish. You could eat something, but you don't really feel like having a whole meal, a whole plate full of something, but maybe just a little bit of a bite to eat, just a little snack. Next below that is going to be your traditional hunger. You actually haven't eaten for a while, you are hungry, you can start to feel some of the symptoms of hunger, which might be a little bit irritable, a little bit grumpy, a little bit hangry. Maybe you're starting to get a little bit weak or shaky. But if you've got more than that, then do think about what I said earlier on. And then further down that, if you go further than that, you start to go into feeling like you're starving, you're ravenous, you'll just eat absolutely the next thing that comes along in front of you, and you will just grab it and eat it. Interestingly, after starving, there is actually a level when you actually stop feeling hungry at all. You are so hungry that you actually stop feeling hungry. Your body kind of goes into a point where it's like, okay, I'm not going to get any more food for a while, so I'm going to stop torturing you. You find this happens when you start to do intermittent fasting. You get to a point where your body's just like, okay, I'm going to stop telling you I'm hungry. So those are sort of the levels that I would consider hunger and the levels of hunger and what it feels like. The main thing about portion control is actually not what's on your plate, but it's actually what's in your mind. It's your mindset that is your portion control. Visually doing portion control, just looking at your plate, although it sounds like it could be a good idea, is actually not very successful, because there's usually a sort of a conflict going on with what you're seeing on your plate and what's going on in your mind. You really want to be able to think before you sit down is that you're aiming to be satisfied with the meal, not full, not stuffed. And a good way of doing this is usually to batch cook food so that you if you do over cook the amount and the quantity of food that you're going to be making for yourself, because you're batch cooking, it's easier to know that you're cooking multiple meals, so you can easily portion out what you need for just that one meal. Portion out the rest of them, put it in the fridge or the freezer, and you're ready to go next time with a perfectly portioned, controlled meal for yourself. Measure the servings, measure the amount that you put into the meal, so you're actually planning how many meals you're going to be making. This might require a little bit of trial and error. Also use either pasta bowls, so the wide but shallow bowls, or plates themselves. The reason for that is that it allows the food to spread out. What I have noticed is that people that use the smaller bowls, although they look smaller, because they're so deep, you actually can ram quite a lot of food in there. So try and use something that is flat as possible. And make sure you're hydrated. Make sure that you drink water before the meal and also during the meal and between eating bits of the food off your plate and off your fork. So making sure you're well hydrated is going to be a great way for you to slow down the way that you eat, but also to remind yourself and to let yourself know I'm actually getting full now, because it's allowing your body to recognize what's going on. Because it can take up to 20 minutes for your body to send the signal to your brain saying, I've actually had enough. So by slowing down the amount of time that you take to eat and actually taking longer to eat, you're actually going to feel fuller faster, or you're going to recognize the fullness faster. So some of the mindset challenges that people get is, what about all these starving people in the world? Because this is what we were told when we were kids. And the usual answer was, well, go and send it to them then, which never went down very well. But if that is a concern, and wasting food is a concern, then what you could be doing instead is, instead of making one meal, one portion, which is actually quite difficult to do to get the portion control right, actually make 2 or 3 meals at once. Save one in the fridge, one in the freezer, so you can have it later. It's much easier to portion control for 3 meals than it is for 1. And if you do get hungry later, don't worry. It just means your portion control needs a little bit of tweaking. Okay? So measure things with your hands or cups. So for example, when I make pasta dishes, I will take 1.5 handfuls of pasta for 1 portion. So if I'm cooking for 2, it's going to be 3 handfuls. Again, cooking multiple portions is actually easier to measure out. Measure the ingredients, measure the portions as you put them out onto the plate. Use a ladle, use a big spoon, use something that you know is going to be consistent every time you put a portion out. If you're putting some rice out, use the same spoon, so that when you get used to eating that amount of food, you know, okay, 1 big spoon is actually enough of the rice for me. Have a look at it, put it on the plate, use the portions control that you've got, your hands when you're cooking, your ladles or spoons when you're serving out. Hey Laura, thanks for joining. Measure the fullness at the end of it. As I mentioned before, are you absolutely stuffed? Are you satisfied? Are you full? Are you starving? Are you peckish? Just have a think about how you feel after that meal, and think about, so what would you change for the next time? So review, adapt the next meal that you have when you use those portions again, and adjust. Add a little bit more, take a little bit away. So Precision Nutrition recommends using your hands as portion control. So for example, they recommend that a palm, the middle part of your palm, is the quantity of protein. Sounds very simple. I like to adapt it depending on my nutritional needs at the time, if I'm working out, if I've been stuck at home all day. But basically, a palm of your hand is a quantity of protein. Now, they recommend 2 palms for men and 1 palm for women. I'm really sorry, ladies, but apparently you can't have as much protein. Now, I would also take this with a pinch of salt. Everybody's different. Everybody's different sizes, different builds, different ethnicities even makes a difference. How active people are is going to make a huge difference. But as a general guide, a palm full of protein per meal, 1 for women, 2 for men. That's how much you should be focusing on putting on your plate. Next is vegetables. If you take a fist, that is how much veg you need to have on your plate. Again, it's 1 fist for women and 2 fists for men. That's how much you should be putting on your plate. And interestingly, this is the order that you should be thinking about food that you put on your plate. Hi, Ian. Welcome to the portion control. If your portion control is terrible, then this is going to be really useful for you. So, the order that I'm doing these in: protein first, vegetables second. That's how you should be thinking about your meals. Get the 2 palms of protein for men, 1 palm of protein for women, 1 fistful of vegetables for women, 2 fistfuls of vegetables for men. And then thirdly, your carbs. It should be the last thing that you think about putting on your plate. And if you do it this way, it'll reduce the number of carbs. Carbs have a lot of calories, a lot of energy based in them. I'm not anti-carbohydrate at all. I have done keto, I have done low carb, I have done intermittent fasting and all those kinds of things. And yes, it does work. But with most of our diets, we really like carbs. We really like pasta. We really like bread. So these need to be taken in consideration if you're going to be, having a normal meal and going forwards, eating well. Thanks, Matt. Glad you're enjoying it. So, cup, like I said earlier on, a cup of carbs. A handful, a cupped hand of carbs. So for me, I found that actually 2 cups, which is the recommended amount for men, is actually too much for me. So I've had to adapt it and make it 1.5. Maybe I just need larger pasta shells rather than the smaller ones that fit into my hand too easily. So 2 cups for men, 1 cup for women. And then finally, the fats. Good fats, obviously. So you're talking about olive oils, peanut oils, guacamole, or avocado rather, anything like that. Think about a thumb's worth of oil. So if you're cooking with oil, if you're going to be putting on a spread, if you're going to be adding oil to your veg or something like that, I love butter on my peas. A thumb is usually the right amount of quantity. Again, 2 thumbs for men, 1 thumb for women. It's a guideline. It's a good way to start. It's a basis for you to start working from, and you can build from it. You can adapt it, you can change it, you can make it something that's really personal to you. Okay? This guide, the palm guide, the hand guide, it's in the PDF that I give away. If you want to get a copy of the PDF, you can either drop a comment in the box now and I'll send it to you after the live, or you can go to my website and it'll take you to the page straight away. So if you go to www.impactcm.co.uk, that will take you to get an email and get the copy of the PDF, which explains all this in more detail. And it's got a few other suggestions on there as well. So really, the secret to portion control is actually proportion control. Actually controlling what proportions you have on your plate, starting off with the protein, then the vegetables, then the carbs, then the fat. If you focus on getting a palm, a fist, a cupped palm, and a thumb, you've got it made. This is how you control your portions. The reason why this works is it is more protein focused and slightly trying to reduce the carbohydrates. The reason why that works is protein is more filling, more satiating. It's going to take your body a longer time to process the protein itself. You're going to feel fuller for longer. So if you focus on getting the protein first on your plate, you actually don't have to worry so much about portion control, because it's going to be more satisfying. You're not going to eat as much and you can put the rest away. And having these portion controls of the fist, the palm, and the cupped hand, it's going to be easier for you to identify exactly how much you need as an individual on your plate. As I said, carbs for me in a cupped hand is actually a little bit too much. So think about how can you put this to use on your next meal. For some of you, it's going to be coming up to dinner time here in the UK. So this is something that you can all practice on your next meal. And for the rest of you around the globe, certainly give me a nods up, a little message when you've had a chance to put this into practice. And see how it goes. If you have any questions, then pop them in the comments box right now. If you're a little bit shy, don't worry. You can send me a private message instead, and I'll reply to you directly. Hopefully, you found this useful, and I shall do some more in the future if you did. Let me know. Pop a comment in the comments box, drop me a message or an email, and let me know if you found it useful and if you'd like something for me to do in the future that I can focus on and do future Facebook Lives broadcasts for you. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining me, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon. All right, take care. Bye.